Hello, everyone. IMS welcomes you all to Future You. Set your career compass right with experts insight. And I'm Kalyani Majumdar, your host for today's webinar. So today we will be talking about careers in finance, focusing on investment banking with our speaker, Mr. Ketan J. Shah. He's a managing director of Panini Advisory Services Private Limited. He's an IIM Ahmedabad alumnus, and he has held leadership positions at top firms such as Edelweiss, ICICI Securities, Barclays Capital, ENY, Daiwa Capital, SBI Capital Markets, and so on. So in this webinar, you will find out about life as an investment banker, the career trajectory of our speaker, and what kind of career trajectory you guys can have if you become an investment banker, skill sets required to excel in this field, how to begin a career in investment banking, where should we start, and more. So thank you, Mr. Ketan J. Shah, and thank you so much for being here today for this webinar.
Thanks, Kalyani. Thanks for hosting me. And good morning, friends. I'm happy to be connected to you guys.
Yeah, great. So let's start from your career trajectory. Of course, it's a very maybe you can take it briefly and in parts because it's a very long career trajectory. So from IIM Ahmedabad days to becoming an investment banker and things that has been happening and how as in economy and overall the political scenario in India and abroad, and how all that kind of also made your decision as an investment banker and also as a journey of your investment banking.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So I joined IMA from my BCom in Ahmedabad, and post graduating, I joined SBI Capital Markets, which was the leading investment banker in the early 90s. In the early 90s, liberalization had just begun. The foreign banks and the global merchant banks had not yet come into India. SBI Caps was one of the leading banks at that point of time, so I joined them. I joined at the M&A group, and we helped sell some companies. Those were the early days of the IPO capital markets, and a lot of we sold a lot of IPOs. Gujarat was one of the major selling centers. And I had the luxury of witnessing how the Indian capital markets evolved over 2-3 decades. I had moved to set up a regional office in Ahmedabad. I joined a corporate house there. I came back to Bombay with Ernst & Young in consulting and infrastructure sector. I worked with ICICI Securities. The idea is that an investment banker's journey is very, very closely linked to the GDP and the capital markets of the country.
Right.
It's very, very closely connected. And so when the markets are up, the business is up. When markets crash, business crashes. So there's a lot of volatility also that we have seen over 3 decades. And as an investment banker, you've got to be ready to ride the rough and choppy waters as well. But it's also a very, very exciting journey because you're working with the best sectors and the best companies, and getting a ringside view of what's happening at the top of the sort of markets. So it's a very interesting journey. It's a very glamorous journey also at some point of time, but it can get quite rough and choppy when the markets are bad. We've seen bad cycles. We've seen people lose jobs. We saw the Lehman crash. We saw the dot-com bubble crash.
Yeah.
So that it's a very interesting journey, and happy to share more about that as we go along.
Okay. So what made you decide? What was the trigger for you to pursue investment banking? As in, you must have. In any case, you were from finance. I mean, you were from commerce, right? And what made you decide that, okay, I don't want to get into corporate banking or equity research. I want to get into investment banking.
So, an investment banking, let's take a step back.
Okay.
From a conceptual point of view, what does an investment banker do, right? So you have the corporate world, which is the world of companies. Companies could be in any sector. They could be pharma sector, they could be manufacturing, they could be automobile, they could be technology, there could be food, restaurants. You have the whole corporate world.
Right.
And as a young person, you might choose a career in finance, but inside the company, and handling their accounts, tax, their management, MIS, analytics, fundraising, etc.
Mm.
And then you have the investment world. The investment world is the world of markets. There is the world of banks. There's the world of currency and lenders. And you
Mm.
have the debt side and you have the equity research side. So you have these two parallel worlds. And the investment banker's job is to really make the twain meet. So
Okay.
the fund, the corporate sector guys want funds to grow their business, and the investing world wants to invest in the best businesses which can provide them the best returns. If you are an equity investor, you want to invest in the most exciting company which will give you the best profits. If you are a debt market investor, you want to invest in the safest security which gives you the lowest risk for your debt. So you have these two parallel worlds.
Okay.
And then investment banker helps allocate capital, helping investors choose the best company to either invest money or equity or debt.
Mm.
and
Okay.
and and helps the corporate sector find the right investors for their business, right?
Okay. Mm.
So the investment banker sits at the confluence of the corporate world and the investor world. And to do that, what you need is three things, three kind of skill sets. You need to have a very good understanding of business strategy and how companies evolve, the different ways, different the competing forces in industries, which industries will do well, why, the supplier pressure, the raw material pressure, the consumer demand, the
Mm.
pricing pressure.
Mm.
So you really need to have a very good pulse of corporate strategy and what's happening
Yeah.
in the business world.
Mm.
And simultaneously, you need to have a good pulse of the markets. What are investors looking for? What is their appetite? What is their inclination, their
Mm.
worries?
Mm.
And so one is your insights, which matter. The second is that you need selling skills, because at the end of the day, it's a sales job. Sometimes I loosely call it the Pandit market, where there is a Var and there is a Kanya, and you got to find the best Kanya for the best Var and the best,
Yeah.
you know. So you got to you
Yeah.
need selling skills. You need to understand mindsets, and then you need to understand markets, because I mean, you could have the US investor who has a different problem, and you have a Japanese investor who has a different problem, and you have an Indian borrower who has a different problem. So you have to find the best match from across the world. So
Right.
it's a very different sort of world, and you require, it's more macro with a pulse of details,
Mm.
and then it's a lot of sales job as well,
Okay.
and a lot of people enjoy it.
Mm.
uh, and honestly, till 20 years ago, it was also the highest paying job in the world. So
Okay.
all your
Mm.
big bulge brackets, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, all these guys, this was the one of the most paying jobs in the world. Uh, Good thing is, over there is democratization of careers that's happened.
Mm.
Now people make a lot of money in other careers as well. So I would no longer put investment banking as the
Okay.
only top
Mm.
paying
Mm.
job.
Mm.
Today, you could
Right.
make good money in a startup as well.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
again, investment banking as a job is very intellectually stimulating, and sort of a lot of people enjoy it.
Mm.
It's also a very interesting career if you are entrepreneurial,
Mm.
because you could set up, with a little bit of experience, you could set up your own shop as an investment banker.
Okay.
And if you're good, if you have the right pulse and contacts and networks,
Mm.
you could do very well
Mm.
without having to invest a very large capital in the business,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So it has,
Mm.
whereas certain other businesses, you would need a large pool of capital to set up of, maybe
Correct.
a startup, or
Mm.
a sort of a
Mm.
manufactory, or a
Mm. Mm.
manufacturing
Mm.
industry.
Yeah.
So there are different nuances of each career,
Mm.
and I think when students sort of pick up a career for themselves, they should sort of pick up something that aligns their own personal preferences
Mm.
with overall nuances of that particular
Okay.
career. Yeah.
So we will talk about the skill sets in for more detail a little bit later. But first, can you tell us about in investment banking? There is a front office and then there is a back office, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
is it that in the initial years, how many years? So while you are an analyst and then you become an associate, you are in the back office, I believe. So, but how many years does it take for them from there to move to the front office, and what are the from entry level to senior level, and finally what's the highest point where an investment banker or an investment banking professional can reach? Yeah.
So typically, I would say that there are 5 or 6 levels in an investment banking career.
Okay.
You start with an analyst, which is the first, the lowest in the pecking order.
Right.
And where you are sort of being trained to do different stuff.
So this is more like in the back office.
Yeah, this is the back office where you do a lot of research. As I said, an investment banking firm needs to be on top of what's happening in the trends, in the industry, what's happening. So you do the desktop research on what's happening everywhere, and you feed your seniors with your updates, different transactions, what valuations they have happened, etc., etc. So you do a lot of back office research, and you coordinate with the companies where the transactions are there to get information from them and all that. The next level is that of an associate who's basically has got a couple of years more of experience. You get into preparing pitch decks. You make financial models. Financial modeling is a very important skill in investment banking because you're trying to forecast what will happen, and through that you get a grip of what so if raw material prices in China change, what is the impact on the steel market in India, right? So the financial modeling is something where you try and simulate what will happen in the real world because of different factors, variables, currencies, prices, demand, volume, etc. So from an analyst you become an associate.
Right.
Once you've put in 3-4 years and you are ready to lead other associates, you become the designations change, but you become a manager, VP, AVP, different level designations. But essentially, you have a couple of analysts or associates under you, and you are managing a transaction, supporting a senior banker.
But you are still in the back office.
So at the mid level, see, in investment banking, everyone gets to interact with the client, right? Because the junior guys interact with the client for getting information. The mid level guys interact with the client, telling them that we need to do this, that, etc. Under the guidance of the senior. So the director and the MDs are the ones who are leading the transaction. The VPs are the ones who are leading the back office team. But investment banking as a business is always has a front office angle. You cannot be an investment banker without dealing with clients, right? And that's where communication skills matter a lot. That's why selling skills also matter. And many times in the olden eras, people used to do a lot of, I would say, positioning as well. Sound very fancy and exotic to the clients just to impress upon them and make sure you make a lot of fees. So there's a little bit of street smartness also that sort of involved there. So while the lower levels are treated as back office, the back office also is a front office. And so when a managing director recruits a back office guy, he still keeps in mind his presentation skills, his ability to converse with the clients. The only difference is that the junior guys do not have revenue targets on them, right? But once you become senior, once you cross the VP level, then you move into either a director or an MD designation. And again, different organizations use fancy titles. The US guys invented the title of a managing director, although the Indian guys would be probably called a VP or something else. But this was again more to sort of impress clients, and that an MD in an investment banking company does not necessarily mean an MD in a large manufacturing organization, right? Where an MD in a large organization is the number one guy, whereas an MD in a firm may not be. I'm not saying he's not. Even the number one would, but the idea is that once you grow to a certain level, then you are counted for the revenues you bring into the firm, right? And that's when you have the top two designations, which is a director and a managing director, where then you take responsibility for getting business for the firm, right? Which is executed by the junior level people. So you need to get in the deals, and you need to cut the deals. You need to get in the investors, right? And that's when you become first you become a director, and then when you're the best or the senior most guy, you become a managing director. Different companies have managing directors for different verticals as well. So you could either be the managing director of the whole firm if it's a boutique investment banking firm, or you could be an MD of one division, the technology division or the consumer division or the healthcare division. But basically, the managing director is the guy who has the P&L responsibility, right? And while everyone sees the the glamour of investment banking, and it can pay you quite a lot. But if you aren't able to bring in the revenue to the firm, you could even be sacked, because investment banking is a cutthroat business. There's no it's understood that you need to perform, right?
What is a typical day for an investment banker? Can you also tell, initially, as in the first few years, say in the first 5 years of the person as an investment banker in the firm, and then later, like how exactly the typical day is it like, they are in the morning it's heavier, or in the evening it's more work? How exactly does it work?
So as I said, for the investment bankers, work and lifestyle is very, very closely mirrored to the capital markets of that economy. So when the markets are buzzing, the deals are also flying thick and fast. And investment bankers, in fact, last 2 years in COVID, there was a little bit of a pushback. Otherwise, investment bankers were supposed to work 24/7, when needed, right? And there are tons of days where I've worked till 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and still been back in the by 7 a.m. But again, those are also heydays, because the markets are good, and when the markets are good, the firm makes a lot of money. That year, you also expect a lot of bonus. You have a thick fat bonus waiting for you at the end of the year. But then there are years when the market has crashed, and then you are starving for deals, and maybe you go home at 4 p.m. right? So in that sense, investment banking as a career is not for the faint-hearted, and it's not for the person who are very, very regimented, and are wanting a 9 to 5 lifestyle. It's not for those people. There's nothing wrong. I think you choose the career that you're most comfortable with. Investment banking is a really is a hungry man's business, and you have to. And when you get a deal, you because you are competed with a lot of other banks to get that deal. Your client wants to see you succeed, and you work very quickly to meet. If the investor is there, you can't tell the investor that wait for 1 month, I'll come back to you with the information later, because you want to stitch the deal as quickly as you can. So one of that's really what the business is all about. That timing is key. And to that extent, work-life balance can go for a toss. But if you enjoy that, if you enjoy deal making, if you enjoy analyzing the markets and cutting and stitching the right deal, you would have a thrilling life.
There's a question about what are the major skills required for analyst in an investment banking firm.
So if you are an investment banker, it doesn't matter what level you are at. You've got to read a lot, right? Because you are the investment banker is at the frontier of knowledge, right? knowledge about industries, knowledge about economies, knowledge about markets, and knowledge about deals, right?
Okay.
So you have to be clued on what's happening because your client is paying you a thick fee for leading him and guiding him.
Yeah.
So unless you don't know, you can't guide, right?
Right.
So now an analyst obviously does not, no one is born an expert. So an analyst starts and he's exposed to the markets, but then he has to start reading and eventually he wants to grow into become a VP and a director. So he starts tracking the sector, whatever he likes. If he tracks one sector, he wants to make sure that he knows everything that's happening in the sector, in the industry, in the valuations, right? So you need to read a lot. You need to understand valuations, how deals are valued, why deals are struck, right? What motivates the buyer, what motivates the seller, what motivates the overseas investor, what motivates the domestic guy, what are the regulations which govern deals. So it is a knowledge industry, right? You're making money through your knowledge. So the more knowledgeable you are, the more likely you will be successful. So and to that extent, so you need to read a lot. You also need to talk a lot with other people because you have to be clued on what's happening. So these are the two main. And then I use a phrase at IIMA. We used to have a phrase called CCCF, conceptual clarity, contextual familiarity. So you need to know the Black and Scholes model. You need to know options pricing. You need to know valuation multiples, and you need to the DuPont analysis, whatever are the various themes. Excuse me. And then you need to understand how they are applied in markets. What's working, what's not working.
Right.
Excuse me.
You want to take a break?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah?
Sorry for that. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Okay, let's take a few questions here. Is it so that investment banking roles require a very good academic profile? Does that really matter?
Well, I wouldn't say that it matters in the long run, but typically because it's a very sought after job.
Okay.
And a lot of people compete for that one role available.
Right.
So the people with better profiles tend to get the job first. But in a bull market, you would be able to get a job even without the best academic profile, and thereafter it's really your performance that counts, not your academics. So I wouldn't dishearten a guy without with who hasn't had great academics, but your conceptual clarity has to be good. So you can't excuse not knowing the business.
Okay. My B Farm will complete in next month. I'm preparing for CAT 2022, and I want to become an investment banker in M&A department. So how I should go further, because I have 1 year till MBA. So should I take many courses related to investment banking to get the knowledge of that field? So for M&A, okay. I'll wait.
So I think one B Farm. So the pharma sector has been one of the most prolific in M&As.
Right.
So I think a B Farm background can greatly help you into sort of getting eventually into that sector. So it's a good thought process that you have.
Okay.
The process is fairly simple, as in you need to crack an MBA at the top colleges. The bigger the college, the better. And then join a good M&A firm so that you get trained, right? And then your industry sector knowledge should help you cut deals better. And so in that sense, you have so the process is fairly simple wherever you are, from whatever background you are. Sorry, I'm seeing some other questions, but let me just finish this one.
I'll ask you the questions. So you just answer.
So the process, it does see, for an investment banking, your background is irrelevant. You could be you could be a art student, you could be a pharmacy student, you could be a commerce grad, you could be an engineer.
Right.
You need to get into the top B schools. Don't aim for an investment banking career with very small B schools. That it doesn't work that way. I wouldn't encourage you to do that.
Okay.
So get into a good B school and then get into a good IB firm and get where you get trained, because unless it's a knowledge business, unless you cut your you grind yourself at the right place, you might just end up meandering and being in wilderness. So be careful about that in investment banking is what I would say. Aim for the top schools and the top firms, or well-known boutique firms, so that you learn the right tricks of the trade, and thereafter it will work well for you.
Correct. Okay. How is investment banker skills differ from the trader? What is the difference between investment banking firm like Barclays and the trading firm like Tower Research?
So when you're talking, as I said, when you're talking of a trader, you are really in the markets. As I explained earlier, there is the corporate world and there is the markets world.
Okay.
So the trader is in the markets world. He invests in the in the either the capital markets or money markets or debt markets. And his job is a 9 to 3 job, where when the markets are open, he purchases and sells.
Yeah.
So his skill set is a very, very different day-to-day job. The investment banker is really in the middle between the corporate and the so his is a more long-term role, which is like 6 to 9 months or a 12 months on a transaction. The trader is a day-to-day job of buying and selling.
Right. Okay. Okay. To get into investment banking, what would be the best option? MBA in finance or MSc in finance?
MBA, MSc in finance is not really relevant for investment banking.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Importance of CFA. Is there any importance of CFA in investment banking? I mean, it is definitely there in equity research, but for
no, I wouldn't. I mean, if you have it, there's nothing wrong about it. But that's not an edge that you'll get in investment. Yeah.
Okay. How can we be a success? Okay. Let's talk about. So most of our attendees are taking CAT this year or next year. So if they know that they would like to have a career in investment banking, where should they begin? What all they can do now, so that they have an understanding? I mean, obviously, doing courses might not help in investment banking, because you have to kind of understand the market. So is there any particular step or any particular thing that they can do right now?
So the first thing I would say, that if you want to be in investment banking, you should start dabbling in stocks, listed stocks. You could do it just for $500. You don't need to invest 50 lakhs.
Right.
But you should be tracking the markets on a daily basis.
Correct.
You should be reading the Economic Times. You should be knowing what is happening in different industries that you like. You don't need to know about every industry. But as I said, depending on your background and your preference, you should be able to know who are the big companies, because investment banking is a knowledge area. And the more your knowledge, the more you have read about things, the better you will have a pulse. And that doesn't need any training, that doesn't need any courses, that doesn't need anything. You just make sure you read the Economic Times or the financial newspapers or anything online, right? And track what's happening.
Okay. But do you think being an extrovert helps in investment banking, or is it okay if you're an introvert, you're good at analysis and also basically in the back office you were like a huge success, but the moment you started having more and more of F2F with interfacing the client, you become
so unfortunately the lion's share of the remuneration goes to the front office guys, and that's a ground reality, guys. I'm sorry, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, right? So now there are a lot of people who have made a very intelligent choice, saying that, look, I'm good at the back office. I am not making as much money as, let's say, the front office guy, right? But I'm making more money here than I would have done in some other business, right? So it's a question of what trade-off of life you're comfortable with, right? And the good thing is that the back office guy is less likely to lose his job unlike the front office guy. So the investment banking is all about risk and return, right? So you can get high returns, but you can be high risk as well, right? And thereafter, so my favorite Nida Fazli ghazal for investment banking is "Safar mein dhoop to hogi, jo chal sako to chalo."
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So now that we are talking about extroversion versus introversion. So if you could just take us like, okay, you've already spoken a little bit about the hard skills that a investment banker needs. But okay, if you have to have like top 3 hard skills and top 3 soft skills.
So top 3 hot
Yeah.
skills is you got to be able to hustle. Okay.
Okay.
It's a salesman's job because all investment banking deals, you have to first convince a client that you are the best banker for his deal, right?
Okay.
So you got to build trust. You got to impress upon him. He's got to believe in you leading, right? And then
Right.
you got to impress upon the investor that yours is the best deal, that he's got to put in money in. So
Correct.
being able
Yeah.
to communicate and hustle and to be able to sort of lead, and that's where being an extrovert helps. This
Right.
is absolutely non-negotiable as an investment banker, right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The second thing I would say, and essentially that's the biggest thing. The second thing is the ability to take heat, because investment banking
Right.
and the markets are volatile. Tomorrow it will be a crash. Day after it could be a boom.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to sort of go through the grind. That's why that's safar mein dhoop to hogi, because you
Yeah.
cannot,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you want a comfortable, cushy life, investment banking is not necessarily your cup of tea, right? So, and if you look at the soft skills, at the end of the day, you just cannot be hot air, right? To sustain over a long time period of time, you need to have genuine knowledge. You really need to find out the best for both your clients and your investors. You cannot just sustain by sort of just making very fancy speeches, because you'll be found out, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So so genuine knowledge, substance is absolutely necessary to have a sustainable, successful sort of career. So I would say these are the 3 main skills, and then of course your drive. I would say that if you cannot be a successful investment banker if you're not a self-starter.
Okay.
If you need a boss to tell you wake up today and do this, you're not going to be your own drive, your own hunger is very important,
Right. Right.
because you can't rise to the top unless you want to be there, right?
Okay. Okay. So, how is the transition? As in, if someone has been in equity research, say, for a few years, and doesn't want to be there, and now wants to move to investment banking, is it possible? Is that transition possible? And also the other way around. I mean, from investment banking, what is the transition to, if someone has not really been able to crack it there for a few
Yeah.
years?
So
Yeah.
so transitions happen all the time.
Okay.
You cannot time them perfectly, but over a period of time it happens. So typically, as I said, investment banking is a pyramid. So not everyone makes it to the top. And so people who aren't able to either, I mean, every 5 years the market crashes. In 30 years I've seen some 5 cycles.
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
and so sometimes people either lose their job or but there is always, and see, because the investment banking is a knowledge industry, you're always at the top of the trade. So a good investment banker can move to the corporate side normally very easily.
Okay.
Right? So you're working in the pharma sector and you risen to the mid level, then you join a pharma firm on their finance and strategy side. You join on their M&A side. So the transition to the corporate sector from an investment banking is the most natural transition that happens. And it happens all the time.
Okay.
Right? So many people join the fund side or the private equity or the investing side because you have been selling deals. You know how investments are made. Then you move to the investment side and you make the investments yourself and you choose the right. So transitions happen all the time from investment banking in, and it's a great business actually to cut your teeth in, You join an investment banking firm, understand from a higher level what happens in the world, and then join the corporate side. So that's also a great career.
Correct.
From equity research to investment banking, I would say that it will happen a little less frequently. It can happen till the mid level, but you because where you are executing deals. So if you are a equity research analyst for the tech sector, you could join an investment banking firm and execute their tech deals, right? But it is difficult to join an investment banker at the top of the firm, because you need to have contacts. You are expected to get business. So if you've never done that, you cannot just start and doing that. So that's yeah, it's a little more difficult, but I mean that has also happened. So I would say in investment banking, it's never say never.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a question of how hungry you are for that role.
Okay. There's a very interesting question about, could you tell us a few things you wish you knew before you joined IB? Yeah.
Well, it might sound a little pompous, but actually, I had done my homework and I was ready for the the grind of investment banking.
Yeah.
And they say that if you love your job, you never have to work a single day of your life.
Yeah.
So I can say that I've never had to work, because I just love getting up and getting to the next deal and doing something else. Yeah, it has been a bit up. So one thing I would recommend, which I didn't, for example, is that I would recommend that you start at the top. For example, one of the things I did was, I was from Ahmedabad, and I said, oh, let me go to Ahmedabad, let me do it from my hometown. And it's a more comfortable lifestyle, etc. But Mumbai is where the action is, or if you are in IT, Bangalore is where the action is. And so when you are starting in investment banking, start at the top so that you know what's happening in that market. Then you can go back to your hometown. Now there are a lot of people who are doing well, but cut your teeth at the top is what I would recommend.
Okay. Okay, could you explain the difference between IB roles offered at A, B, and C versus other colleges, and why the pay gap is so high?
Yeah, so it's very simple. The pay is determined by the firm depending on how much money it makes, right?
Yeah.
So if the firm makes a lot more money, it offers a lot more pay, sort of, and then it goes to certain campuses, and it doesn't go to certain campuses because roles in investment banking are very limited. As I said, the industry is very narrow, and typically only the top 2 or top 5% of a batch get into investment banking. So in that sense, I would say that if you get into the top or a good well-known firm, do that. Don't get into very, very small firms. That's not what will help you. So either get into a good firm where you can really learn and then be a good banker, or there are enough other opportunities. So in that sense, don't get hung up on only being an investment banker.
Right.
But because very, very small sort of unknown firms in investment banking have never been able to do well. And that's the wrong place for a starter to sort of, do that.
Okay. So would you say that, one should not, I mean, if someone is starting off on this path, they should not join a boutique firm. They should join a bigger firm like Goldman Sachs or something, or Barclays or something.
No, there are very few firms, global firms, and some of the global firms don't necessarily offer the best. Sort of, for example, a KPO is not necessarily the best. So I wouldn't say against a boutique firm. I would actually, some of the boutique firms can actually, you could get a lot more experience, but try and find out about the firm whether you will get the right experience or not, right? So if it's a very, very unknown firm, chances are that they aren't even getting the better deals, and so you are not getting to learn anything there. So as I said, since you are in the knowledge industry, make sure that because there is no substituting the knowledge on the ground, right? You cannot get the knowledge from the books. So make sure that you are getting the knowledge, because that's the only way you will grow unless you are trained, right? you will not be able to do a good job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I'm a lawyer working at a premier law firm in M&A and PE sector. Will my skill set get utilized in investment banking?
Yes. I know a lot of lawyers who become good investment bankers.
Okay. Yeah. Because
Yeah. So
the skill
because
sets are kind of.
you need the skill sets to negotiate. You
Yeah.
know what clauses, etc. But again, you have to be eventually to grow. You have to be a front office lawyer, not just the agreement. I mean, not just drawing up agreements, but you need to negotiate
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Will NISM certificate in derivative market help in investment bankers placement?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't bank on paper degrees for
Okay.
investment banking. It doesn't work that way.
So you would rather say they should just basically put a bit of their skin on the game and then learn
do an internship, start working. Don't aim for degrees. Your degrees aren't going to get you into investment banking.
That brings me to internships and all, and how exactly your journey started with Panini Advisory. How did you start that after working for so many big firms? How exactly this happened? And
basically it's a natural evolution.
Okay.
As in, I worked for all different types of geographies. So I started my career with SBI Caps because that time it was SBI was the biggest in the 90s. The foreign banks hadn't come into India.
Right.
And then I worked with Ernst & Young, which is a global big four. I worked with ICICI Securities, which is a private sector.
Correct.
I worked with Barclays, which was a European bank, and Edelweiss, and then Daiwa, which is a Japanese. So I've seen investors of US, Europe, Japan, India, institutional, everything. So I said, there's nothing left for me to prove with a larger firm. I can cut a deal myself. So that's when I jumped into entrepreneurship. And set up Panini, and which is what I mentioned to people, that if you are an entrepreneurial type of person, setting up a boutique investment banking firm, if you have the contacts, if you have the relationships, if you have these if you've done a good job as an investment banker, even after 10 or 12 years, you can set up your own boutique, right? And I know a lot of people who've done very well. I actually, in the sense, I waited a lot longer than I should have.
Okay. So if any of our attendees would like to kind of get in touch with your firm for maybe internship or learning, basically understanding how things work.
So we are always open to short-term internships. We are also open to part-time sort of where we train young people for, and in fact I remember one of through it was this such a webinar 2 years back that somebody who attended that, he took the initiative of reaching out to me, and he's in between. So he's I think he's still working with us on a few things.
Nice. Yeah.
So
So there's a question about, I've converted IMC and will be joining. What should be my next steps? I'm interested in going for investment banking. I'm an engineer.
So I mean, if you are
IMC
at
is already
IMC,
there.
you'll have the top-notch global and domestic investment banks coming to campus. So your first shot is to join them. As I said, the bigger the brand, the better initially. But and then if you don't make it into the big guys, then join the boutiques, right? And then take it from there.
Okay. How many years does it take for someone to move from the back office to the front office?
Look, again, investment banking is not a mechanical graduate. It depends on your own experience. It also depends on the markets. It depends on what you've delivered. If your boss is very comfortable giving senior level work to you, if he's impressed, there is no hierarchy, right? So if I know people who have, and then if the markets are good, there is a lot of work. So many times you get direct responsibility because there are so many deals that the VP is too busy and the MD is working with just one analyst directly. He's not waiting. There's no associate. There's no director. So a lot of it happens as I said, it can be a turbulent career because it depends on the markets and the competition.
Right.
So sabhi hai bheed mein tum bhi nikal sako to chalo. So,
Okay. Which are the how if someone has to sit for an interview for investment banking, what are the things that they should, how to prepare for that interview? What are the kind of questions they might be asked?
Look, this is more, I would say,
not just the placement thing. If someone is like not a placement question, as in if the hiring is basically a one-on-one.
Look, as I said, it's up to you to prove to the other guy that you are the best for the role. This is what you will be doing all your life.
Okay.
Right? In investment banking, you are always having to sell why you would be better than somebody else. You'll be selling to your client that he should be giving this deal to your firm and not to somebody else. You'll be selling to your investor that he should put money into your deal and not in somebody else. So in that sense, you are the same situation is there in the interview, and you'll have to impress your interviewer that he should select you and not somebody else. Now you will have to do the homework. What's so great about you, right? What is it that you bring to the table that others don't, right? So you will have to, and that's where your hunger counts. Maybe you have read so much about markets, you're able to tell them. Maybe you know so much about the industry, right? Maybe you're able to, you're such a sweet talker that you're able to charm them. It doesn't look. You have to think about what is it, that will get you ahead of the. I remember in one of my job interviews, I gave my it was the group CEO of a large group. And I just gave him an anecdote about what happens when a king enters a room which is chock-a-block with people. And because it was a conversation about a lunch where he's some great dish has come there, but your stomach is full. So I said that but if there is a king enters a hall which is chock-a-block with people, the people will still squeeze and make some way for the king, right? And so if the dish is very interesting, you'll still find a way to taste it. And that one answer got me that job. So again, it's very anecdotal. That there are no fixed answers in investment banking.
Okay, so since you've been there, done that, I mean, you've seen the market go up and down and again up. So what are the kind of challenges that you have faced? Like maybe you can talk about maybe one that huge issue or difficulty that you faced and how you solved it. What was the outcome?
So I would say that I wouldn't say any one difficulty or the other. I would say that if you want to be in investment banking as a person, you should be comfortable with uncertainty and change, right? Because no one in the world can control markets, and so things just happen. And there's the Lehman crash happens, or the recession has happened, right? Or COVID has come. We as a firm, we were doing a lot of deals, and then COVID happened, and 6 months of lockdown, and all the businesses crashed. So the deals just couldn't happen at that point of time. There's nothing you could do. You just have to be patient at that point of time, right? So, and then by God's grace, things open up, and suddenly all of them start clicking at the same time. Now, so investment banking, as I said, is a very, very tough job in that sense that there's a lot of volatility. Either the market is big or it's crashed. So as an individual, you will need to be very, very determined, very sort of hungry, but very patient as well. And over a period of time, it's been a very fulfilling sort of career, because you get exposed to the best of people, best of companies. So it's in that sense, while it's recommended, you have to be ready for the long haul.
Right. How to apply for the internship or reach to your firm? Of course, through the website.
Please share my email ID. We are always
Yeah.
We love meeting young, enterprising people. We also, obviously, I was at one point of time, I was on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
So, but we are not a large firm, and we're not big paymasters. We're not a Goldman Sachs or so. I mean, I don't. That's
Yeah.
not what we can. But we can definitely sort of train you to the right things in investment banking. Yeah.
Okay, somebody has said this. Goldman pays 40 lakh at Ahmedabad and 22 lakh at Indore. How different are the roles offered?
But
The roles are
that's
probably the
what that.
same. Yeah.
No. So that's exactly what you guys need to do the homework, because as an
Right.
investment
Mm,
banker,
mm,
you are the knowledge guy. You dig deep. Why are they paying 40
correct.
here and 22? What is the role there? What is the role here?
Mm,
Where does the role here lead to, and where does the role here lead to? You
correct.
will need to do the homework. If you want to be a good investment banker,
Mm,
you need to be a good research guy yourself, right?
right. Okay. Yes. I
So
mean, that person actually dug that up and asked you
yeah,
this question. So
yeah.
obviously, you have to just dig it further.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
talk to 10 guys,
Correct.
who worked in Goldman and Ahmedabad, find out where did they go after that job. Talk to 10 guys in Indore, find out where they did, right?
Mm,
Ask
correct.
them
Correct.
directly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you don't be shy. If you are a shy guy, investment banking won't work for you, right?
Yeah. Mm.
Dig, ask. At the most, kya hoga? They will not tell you the answer.
Correct.
Fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Some top schools to target. Obviously, please target IIMA, IIMC, and of course, there are also other B schools too. But yeah, definitely go for these. Aim for these. Maybe you'll get through FMS. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's again finance. So yeah. How to ace your internship at IB? Somebody I think is going to be writing this mail to you right away, because the same person has been asking questions about this internship. Yeah, yeah.
There is no formula in investment banking, unfortunately,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to, I would say that the more you read, right, the
Mm.
more you understand the markets,
Mm.
right, and the more you can sort of give new ideas to the people around you, get things done for them, is how you will ace. So if you get a presentation, if you can make the best presentations,
Mm.
you will ace them. If you prepare you bring a very, very sort of interesting insight that you have researched, you will
Mm.
ace it. If you
Mm.
are able to talk to a guy very convincingly, you will ace it. So
Correct.
there are 100 roads that lead to Rome. You have to find out which one you
Yeah.
can sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it necessary that will you be a better investment banker if you have a CA, or is it a good combo for the long run?
Yeah, so I don't see any. I mean, CA, you need to have a lot of sort of brilliance to become a CA. So if you become a CA, why not? You can be a good investment banker, but it's
Okay.
neither a necessity nor a disadvantage.
Mm. Okay. Uh, okay. How about, are
But
there any?
let
Yeah.
me just
Yeah.
say that a CA and an investment banker
Mm.
becomes a deadly combination for a CFO role.
Okay.
So if you are a CA and you have also done investment banking,
Mm. Mm.
10 years or 15 years later, you would be an ideal candidate to be the CFO, transitioning out of investment banking into the corporate career. So
Okay.
that can be a deadly combination.
Mm. And do investment bankers become CEOs
Yeah.
in a
Oh,
firm? Yeah. Okay.
lots of them.
Mm-hmm. I have a few questions. I love trading, so the investment banker is the way to go for me. And if not, then what's the other way you would suggest? Or
No,
should I? Huh,
trading is not
huh.
investment banking.
Yeah, yeah.
Trading is you apply for a job in a
Mm,
asset management firm. You apply for a job in the markets
mm,
division. So investment banking, as I said, is the front office role. Trading is the investing markets role. So you in which case, I mean, they are also investment banks. So Goldman Sachs and Barclays also have trading
mm.
floors,
Correct.
and as does Axis Mutual Fund or ICICI Mutual Fund.
Mm.
But then you make sure that you're being selected for that role.
Okay. Is there any, okay, what's the difference between equity research, asset management, investment banking? Equity research analyst, this, that. I mean, basically, the difference and yeah.
So, as I said, again, go back to the basic CCCF, conceptual clarity. There is the corporate world, there is the investing world, and the investment banker is in the between the two. The equity research guy and the trader sit in the investment market role. So the investing market, you have an equity research guy who analyzes which stock is good to buy or sell. And then there is the asset manager. The fund manager decides based on his analysis, right? And then he gives the instruction to the trader. And the trader on a day-to-day basis, because the decision would have been made that, okay, Tata Steel looks good at 270, but the price is fluctuating. The trader decides to buy at 272 or 269.
Correct.
So these three guys sit in the investing market role. The investment banker is the guy who's talking to the fund manager,
right?
For the corporate, that will you buy this company or will you do that? So investment banker is in the middle. The other three guys are in the investing market, and you have the CFOs and the CEOs and the pharmas and all these guys in the corporate world. So that's the broad lay of the land.
Okay. Nilanjit Kar, you can send me a mail and I'll answer back with all the information that you require regarding Parnini and the email address and everything. Okay. So before we wrap up, just what are the tips? Few tips for our MBA aspirants who are planning to be in investment banking. What all they can do right now so that they have a brighter future?
As I said, there is no substitute, right, for knowledge. And in that sense, don't think of life just as getting into an MBA or getting into a job or a job of an investment banker. The more you can empower yourself with knowledge and awareness, that is an evergreen card which will help you everywhere, right? Conceptual clarity, contextual familiarity. CCCF is a jargon that I learned at IIMA, but I believe it's relevant for life. Keep on doing what you like to do. See how money is made. See what's happening around you. You don't have to be the master of everything in the world.
Correct.
Pick up a few sectors, a few areas, increase your knowledge there, and keep on sharpening yourself. Some point in time, life will give you an opportunity, right? And then you to grab it with both hands and claim what's yours.
Yeah. All right. So that's all we have today for this session. Thank you, Mr. Ketan J. Shah. Thank you so much for a fantastic session. It was like the 1 hour just went like that with so much information on investment banking. So and for any other information, attendees, you guys can send me an email and I'll send you all the information that you guys need. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much, and all my best wishes to young, fresh graduates or your aspirants. Don't give up hope. Make sure that you are patient, and sooner or later you will catch the wind.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All the best, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye.